Good morning, everybody. My name is Marie Davis, and I am the head of Google Marketing Solutions for Ireland. And I am really excited to have you here. After a small break for the month of August, we are back with our breakfast briefing series. So, really excited that you could all join us here on the first day of autumn. We've missed summer's over. So a couple of housekeeping things just to say before we move on to the main event, which is going to talking about the mobile revolution. First of all, we're coming up to one of the busiest times for a lot of people here, which is coming into the retail season. So I'm really pleased that we're going to have one of our industry heads of retail here in October to talk to us about what are the trends happening in retail, what we need to be, what's going to be the big things for Christmas, and making sure that we're all ready in October because the run up to Christmas is getting earlier and earlier. I think you've all seen that some of the Christmas shops are already open in town. So that's going to be our next breakfast briefing. The second thing is you really make the breakfast briefing series. And with that, we really appreciate and really need your feedback to make sure that we are giving you what you need in this. So we'll be sending out a feedback form afterwards. So we'd appreciate if you could all take the 1 to 2 minutes it takes to fill it out and let us know what you think. But today is a fantastic topic. There's nobody in the audience that doesn't know that over the last couple of years, mobile has become the most important thing in digital. It's gone from being a secondary screen 2 or 3 years ago, something that maybe we might have done as the second part of our strategy, to being our primary device and sometimes our primary and our secondary device. But it's really taken over. And when I really think, and when I'm speaking to customers and speaking to people in the Irish market about how we can win against competitors, how we can win against, other companies trying to compete against our product, it really is all about giving our users the best customer experience. I'm sure you've all been there when you've had a bad customer experience on a mobile device or on a desktop. So we're really in the midst of the mobile revolution, and we're very, very lucky today to have Mairead Butler, who's our mobile product expert, who's going to talk to us all about the mobile revolution and how we can make sure that we're best set up to really capture our audience as we go through that revolution. So Mairead Butler.
Good morning, everyone. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here with me today to talk about my favourite topic, the mobile revolution. So, as Marie has said, summer is over, but the fun and games are still here in Google in the Foundry. So let's begin our session with a game. Now, probably some of you have played this before, where we're going to do an interactive quiz, considering that the theme is mobile and that the theme is site speed. So what I need everyone to do is take out their mobile phone right now and visit the website that's at the top of the page here, which is kahoot.it. So I need you to go to IT and not IE. How this game works, I'm going to show you a series of 5 questions, and you use your mobile phone to answer this question. The point is, you absolutely have to get the question right, but the quicker you get it right, we have our first user, creatively named 22222. However, a little tip is the person who's usually first in the game technically does really well. So 222 is the person we need to look out for. What you have to do is get the question right, but on top of that, get it right in the quickest amount of time. A little detail to add here is that you need to pay particular attention to some of the questions and the detail that's within the question, because that will get you extra points later on. Is everybody ready to play our Kahoot game? We've got a few more people joining. But if you haven't joined the game yet, the likelihood that you're going to be speedy enough to win this game is absolutely dropping. I'll maybe let it go a little bit further and then we can go. Everybody ready? What phobia describes a fear of being without mobile phone device power source? Is it phonophobia, nomophobia, mobiphobia, or motophobia? And remember, like I said, please pay attention to the detail within the questions, particularly this one. Hint. Okay, the answer is nomophobia. So most of you got that wrong. Rough start, but let's continue on. So the person who's leading now is JC, and Barry is coming in second place. So 2222, you absolutely let me down. Let's go on to the second question. A lot of you should know this. We've said it over and over and over again, But what percentage of visitors will leave the site if it doesn't load in 3 seconds? Much better. So for those of you who think 100%, we wouldn't still be in business if that was the case. But 53% of people leave a website if it doesn't load in 3 seconds. Let's see what's happened to our leaderboard. Excellent, JC. Maintaining your lead. Barry's completely dropped off, replaced by Aoife. There's 2 really in the running here. Let's move on. What percentage of digital ad spending will be mobile in Ireland by 2020? I think you can all take a really good guess at this, so I'm expecting positive results. Fantastic. The answer is 80%. So we'll talk a little bit more about this as we go throughout the presentation. Robin's, oh, sorry, JC, looks like your head is running. Don't know where Robin's came from, but he's now at the top of the leaderboard. Next, what is the name of this site? So this is a site that's really, really important for site speed. What's it called? It's webpagetest.org. pagespeedtest.com. Something that I threw in there, testmysite.com, something that's really important. And analyze my site may or may not exist, but I did make that up for the purpose of this quiz. Sure, okay. So Robbins, you're still there. So this next question is a little bit of a tricky one, and it really depends on how much you're paying attention throughout the quiz. So we'll have a look here. In the first question of the quiz, I showed a picture. What movie was that from? I think this as much counts on how much attention you're paying and how good your movie trivia is, but here we are. It was Saw. So we'll see, did Shar or Robin, did JC manage to hang on? Tom! I'm so sorry, Shar, that you just got pipped to the post. But where's Tom? Oh, is it? Tom's over there. Tom wins a spectacular prize of this Android squishy teddy that I got for you. But most importantly, the pride of being the Kahoot King for all of the Irish breakfast briefings. So please make sure to collect your prize after this. Congratulations, Tom. Brilliant. So, like I said, what we're here today to talk about is the mobile revolution. The definition of a revolution is something that causes far-reaching and dramatic change. And I know what you're thinking. The revolution has come and gone. We heard about this 10 years ago, we heard about it 5 years ago, we heard about it last year. We know all about the revolution. But let me tell you, the mobile revolution is absolutely alive and kicking within Ireland. So what I had showed you earlier was the increase in the mobile ad spending. Last year was the first year that when we looked at digital ad spending, more than half of it came through mobile. So we see dramatic growth that's occurring this year, but like I showed you in the quiz, by 2020, 80% of the digital ad spending will be coming through mobile. That means that 4/5 of your digital media will come through mobile. So there's a lot of things that you need to do to get this right, and we are absolutely not there yet. Just to put this into a little bit of context, how the revolution is so important to Ireland, we are absolutely massive, not only in the European stage, but worldwide. So we're going to have a higher mobile ad spend in places like Taiwan or Japan or even the States. So the pressure is on Irish marketers to ensure that we are absolutely getting this right. The second thing when I hear about the mobile revolution is I get it, I know it's important. What do you want me to do with this? How am I actually supposed to action it? And that's where I came in. So as Marie said, my name is Mairead, and my role here is as a mobile product expert. And so what I have to do is teach everyone the best way to be a part of the mobile revolution. So this is a second mobile revolution. Another definition of that word is a circle or turning in a framework. So here we have it, a different version of a mobile revolution. Everyone see what I did there? This is what we have in a framework. So these are 4 pillars that I look at when I'm developing a mobile strategy. Firstly, identifying your audience. Where are they and what are they doing? Secondly, optimizing your assets. What does your website look like? What's your app like? Do you need to have both? And what's your strategy there? Are you measuring everything? Is everything working correctly? And once you have all those components in place, are you investing properly? Are you bidding properly? Are you ensuring that your advertising and creatives are up to scratch? A caveat here is that people say, I don't have a separate mobile marketing strategy. I have one strategy with all the elements incorporated. And that is absolutely perfect. The point here is that you can use this framework at any point and you can enter it at any stage. So some people here have absolutely fantastic sites and they know who their target market is, but their measuring is completely off. Today, what we're going to focus on is the identification of your audience and optimizing your assets. Aidan recently talked about measurement, which you'll be able to find on our YouTube channel, and the invest section should only happen once you have everything else in place. So the 2 key steps to identification are knowing your customer and mapping out their journey. Now, when I ask people, who's your target market, who's your consumer? People say things like, I know it's male and they're like based in Dublin and they think that they have high income and that's probably it. And I'm asking them how they know and they're saying it's their gut. And ultimately, as business owners, as marketers, trust your gut because it's probably right. And they're the people that you've been working with, they're the people you've been selling to, and no one knows your customers better than you. But there's always additional data that we can use to support that. So the very first exercise is just think, who is my target market and how are they reaching me? Then what we can do is back it up with data from within Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a completely free tool that gives you really, really rich insights on this. So for those of you who haven't accessed it, we do have an audience report within there. It isn't enabled by default, so you will have to go into the demographics and interest section to see if your data is in there. If you don't have that report, you'll have a button to enable it. So the first step is literally to go back, check that, where are my audience, is my hunch right? Within here, we'll see really interesting insights around what gender are they, what city are they based in, what location are they looking at, and something that'll be important later, what device are they using to convert? Are they on iPhones? Are they on iPads? Are they using Nexus? What matters here? And then on top of that, what are their interests? So are they travel buffs? Are they really into movies? Are they sports enthusiasts? So this is all the data that you can use to back up your hunch, that you can use to back up your customer information. Even for those who have accessed this before, it's important to do it on a continuous basis because mobile has completely disrupted who our audience is and who they could potentially be, because now we're able to reach people in a completely unique way. For those of you who were at the breakfast briefing when Elaine spoke, she showed you something that was really similar to this. So this is mapping out your customer journey. And this is the second step. Once you have your data, once you know who they are, what device they're using, think about how are they interacting. You can see the stat up here that we touch our phones 2,617 times per day, which sounds pretty dramatic, but when we're talking about touch, we're talking about every swipe, every interaction, every yes or no in Tinder or whatever it might be. Any single touch is counted as that interaction. The reason to stress that point is because if we are interacting with our phones that much, interactions are quick and they're short. So at what point can you reach out to your customer in a meaningful way? So here's an example of a consumer's journey, and it's something that I would advise absolutely everyone to do using the data that they have or that is in their gut and build out what is the consumer doing. So just to show you this example here, getting up in the morning, Lewis researching a bit in work, checking on their phone when they're going for lunch, playing games, listening to music, all of that type of thing. What matters here is how can you then map out advertising solutions or ways to reach your customers? So it's about thinking outside the box and it's about doing things differently. If you've figured out that your users are really, really into travel and they're really into movies, and that's likely the sites they're checking first thing in the morning, then you can look at something like GDN or placement targeting. If you know that they're young professionals and that likely on the commute is a really great way to reach them, add scheduling and bid adjustments. If you think that they're out and about, are you utilizing location extensions in Google My Business? Are you using in-app targeting, Gmail sponsored promotions? Or do you think that they're likely to be on YouTube a lot? We heard a lot about video and brand. What's your video strategy there? Do you have any YouTube content? The entire purpose is trying to think of different ways that you can get ahead of the curve, that you can stay competitive. And finally, Gmail sponsored promotions. So targeting people based on the fact that you know they're on their emails all the time. You figured out what type of things they want to like. Can you reach them there? I just wanted to go back to this point about the 2,600 times a day, because a lot of people say, like, that's just not true and it couldn't possibly be true. So I invite you to download this app. It's an app that I used, which basically tells you how many times that you're unlocking your phone. It can kind of be a dark path to go down if you don't want to know that information. But it's something that I often use, especially when I'm working with B2B customers who tell me CEOs don't look at their phone that much. They're way too busy to be doing stuff like that. So a little tool like this is quite handy. And you can even download it today and totally ruin your weekend by seeing by tonight how many times you're looking at your phone. However, another reason I'm bringing this up is because this is a company that obviously understands how their user operates. If you have a look at the in-app targeting that I got here, let's learn to meditate with calm.com. So someone who's obviously checking their phone all the time or wants to know what's going on, maybe they do need to relax, maybe they do need to calm down. So that's someone who really, really is understanding their audience and understanding that type of behavior and how they're using the mobile phone. To show you a more advanced example of this, we have Red Roof Inn. Essentially, what this company figured out is that customers would be on their phones in airports when people had a flight delayed or they're absolutely desperate for accommodation. So what they did was build out custom flight tracking to let them know if a plane was cancelled or if it was delayed. And then they served really, really personalised ads based on that because they knew that people would be searching on their phones in their airport and that that would be a meaningful time to connect with them. Do we have time to be building out customized flight tracking? Maybe not. But the idea here is fully getting into your customer's shoes and understanding what you can do that's outside the box, that's a little bit different, that will make sure that your mobile marketing strategy stays ahead of the curve. The next thing that I want to talk about is optimizing. So this is why a lot of us are probably here today, to talk about sites, to talk about speed, to talk about friendliness. The first element is ensuring that your site is friendly. So in the Irish market right now, we actually do have a really, really high level of friendliness. So for a lot of you, you will have already passed this bucket. However, it is absolutely crucial to make sure that you're hitting the nail on the head here. If you do not have an friendly site, everything else needs to be deprioritized in favor of this. Can I just get a show of hands if you're already using the Test My Site tool? Okay, about half the room. Does anyone want to tell me what's different about Test My Site as to this time last year? Probably people know, but are too nervous to shout it out in the middle of this large room. But what you will see here is we completely revamped Test My Site at the beginning of the summer. And what it now says is test your mobile speed. Last year, we had it testing out your mobile friendliness. It absolutely still does that, but what you need to take away is the movement towards the importance of the site speed. The very first step, although half of you in the room have said you're using it, go home straight away and check this. Put the site into it, and if it is not mobile friendly, it will immediately flag. And everything else we talked about today has to be ignored because that's your number one objective, to sort out the mobile friendliness. The next element is a new tab. Has anyone seen this? Don't expect any show of hands because this only launched a couple of days ago and it's only in a few of the accounts. So I'd be pretty shocked if I had a full room here and it looks like everyone's telling the truth. What we're looking at here is the landing pages page. So this is a new page that we've launched and it's only available in our new AdWords experience. And just a quick show of hands again, for those of you on AdWords, is anyone in here using the new AdWords interface at the minute? Okay, I only see one or two hands right now. So hopefully, new tools like this that are only available in the new AdWords experience will encourage you to use the new AdWords interface more. What this page essentially does is test out the different website links that you've sent and lets us know, are they mobile friendly? What's the click-through rate there? What's the conversion rate there? And that's really going to allow you to prioritize. So for anyone who hasn't tried it, it's available in the account, only about 50% of the accounts right now. So please go back and check if this data is available to you. The next thing is to focus on conversion rate optimization. A lot of you in this room right now are already there when it comes to the basics of friendliness. You already have things like it's definitely functioning, it's definitely responsive. But what can we do to ensure that the conversion rate optimization is there? What are kind of advanced techniques that we can use? The point is that now you're not just competing with Irish retailers, you're not just competing with other Irish services or businesses, you're competing with the best in class, because everyone can access this information. You're competing with the Ubers and the My Taxi, competing with Amazon and eBay. So that is the type of experience that we're trying to live up to. Has anyone seen the 25 principles before? Maybe by the amount of people taking photos of it, I'm going to take that as a no. So I'll just let you have this for a second. A question that kept coming back is, but what is the mobile friendliness? Like, how do I know what users want or what they don't want? So we did the hard work for you and surveyed hundreds of people and basically asked them to tell us what's really annoying when you're on your website, what drives you crazy. And although you're marketers and business owners or students, you're consumers too, and you know what annoys you. So what we did then is break out the 25 principles into different elements. So we could actually give you guidance and seeing, does this make sense for your business or not? The first protocol, if you have not done this already, is to go back, take out your phone, and actually go through each of these steps. So, does my website make it easy to get back to the homepage? Is my form usable? Am I able to progress pretty quickly through it? How do my images look? Or what's my type of navigation? So, go through these 25 principles and also go through it on one of your competitors. This is often the times that we get the most insight. I often say to people, okay, what's the conversion experience like on your site? And they say, how would I know? It's not like I'm buying my own products. And I appreciate that, but this is absolutely crucially important. Going back to our theme of putting yourself in your customer's shoes and making sure that you know where the bottlenecks are, where the difficult pain points are. And this is a handy guide to let you do that. What I want to show you now is a case study of a client that we actually worked on that shows you some of these advanced user interface and user experience techniques and the difference that it made. We worked with a client, Mango, which I'm sure that many of you have heard of. And essentially what we were doing is redesigning their purchase funnel. What I hear from people all the time is, oh, people don't convert on mobile. The abandonment of the cart is huge. So what you need to go back and do, is there anything I can change? Are there any tiny techniques that I can make a difference here? So the first one is allowing guest checkout. As a consumer myself, there's nothing more frustrating than going to buy a product and realizing that I have to sign up. This is an absolute no-go. And if you are operating a site that you have to sign up to provide that service or product, absolutely needs to change. In this example, Mango actually did allow you to come as a new customer, but it's really, really difficult to see. So what we did was bring that more, and it says ATF here, which means above the fold. So the information that they needed to get quickly, we brought it there. Secondly, minimizing the friction. So they had a really, really unusual setup here where they had a drop-down menu just for their 2 shipping items. So what we did there is change it so it's really visible to the customer and really clear and just in the 2 items. So is there anything like that on your site right now that doesn't need to be there? I've recently worked with a few clients that still had forms where people needed to fill in their fax number. Is that really important? Is that maybe a part of the form we could lose? Yes. So the next element then was on the payment, and this is a huge one. Even just from yourself, when you think about when you're typing in, how frustrating it is and trying to put your credit card number in, what's my CVV code? I can't remember it. So this part is crucially important, and if people can't remember their passwords or their code, they're likely to give up. So try and think, what's the simplest way that I can get someone to purchase? An interesting one here, and something I've seen a lot of Irish websites using now, is where you scan the card and using your camera function. So actually the details come in straight away. So is there anything you can do like that? Anything unique, anything outside the box that you can think of? Similarly here, we just changed around the interface a little bit, so it seems simpler to pull it in. How we ultimately ended up with was showing the confirmation page. So this is a huge one as well, with people saying, did I order the right size, or did I send that to the right address? And they didn't really have this, they just had the total cost. So we reinstated a confirmation page to make sure that that final purchase came through. Ultimately, this is how it ended up. The point here is really to go back and revisit the pain that your consumers have to go to when they're interacting with their site. Obviously, this is an example of an e-commerce site where you have to purchase, but it goes the same for everything. For lead gen, is it easy for people to contact me? Are my buttons clickable? Putting yourself in your customer's shoes is the only way that you can get back to the conversion rate optimization. Something else I hear a lot on this point is, I simply don't have time to prioritize my website right now. I have a lot of other things on my mind. I have a lot of overheads. I have a lot of people to pay. And I appreciate that. But if your site is in such a state that it's non-functioning, that there's really, really serious errors with it, by prioritizing this now, before we get ahead of this trend of the mobile growth, 80% spend in 2020, it is absolutely crucial. What happened for Mango is a 4.5% higher conversion rate and 3.85% more revenue for minor tweaks just on the checkout page. So doing something as small as this can really make a massive difference. So go back and revisit your site and see if there's anything that you can do in that way. Just wanted to show you something a little bit simple here as well. And basically what we're looking at is a color wheel, and just these tiny things. And something like changing the color of a font or a little bit of format, very easy to do. All that we're looking at here is picking out opposite colors to make sure that a call to action can really stand out. So if you're on the opposite spectrum of the wheel, what you're doing there is really inviting the customer to click or to buy or to continue. Can anybody tell me, if we look at the color scheme here of this blue and yellow, what would be a quite famous Irish website that is using that colour scheme excellently? Ryanair. 100% correct. So Ryanair is an example of this, using the blue background with the yellow, and you'll find it over and over again. As soon as I saw this colour wheel, every website I looked at basically seemed to be adhering to it. But these tiny tweaks are things that really matter. The next section is the OW scale. Has anyone seen this before? Okay, so just to give you a little bit of context on this, it's a survey done, and you can actually go online and download the template. What we're looking at is how a user interacts with their phone. So what they did was take hundreds of thousands of participants and see, what are they actually doing on their phone? Are they people who hold it with two hands? Is it one hand? Do they type with their fingers? Most likely what people are doing is swiping across with their thumb. So then what they did is build out, what's an ow or what's a stretch when it comes to the larger phones. The point here is that the phones are evolving at such a quick rate and getting bigger and bigger. And that is really important to think, is my website in line with that kind of site design? I showed this recently and someone said no one has any iPhone 4s. My sister has an iPhone 4, so it's staying up on the screen until they're completely obliterated. So how do I use this? How is this relevant for me? What you can do is layer your site over it, and then you can actually see, are you falling into the OW scale or not? I'm going to show you how you can get those screenshots, but just something different to think about. As you can see in this first example, book a free validation, book a viewing, so simple for the user to get to. When we get all the way over to the iPhone 6, it's absolutely getting into the stretch zone and quite near the top of the OW zone. It's these little tweaks, these little things that make the difference, that make sure that the consumer continues through, that make sure that the user is interested in your site. So looking at different elements of that is absolutely crucial. The next thing that I want to talk about, everyone's favorite topic, which is prioritizing mobile speed. And it's something that Carl talked about recently in one of our breakfast briefings, and it's something that isn't going away because we're not doing it right. You saw at the start of the day, and a lot of you got this right, that 53% of people will abandon a site if it doesn't load in 3 seconds. 3 seconds have just passed there, and you've lost half your potential audience. It's such a short window of time, but it's absolutely crucial. On top of that, 47% expect a page to load in 2 seconds. So this is going back to what I said about Amazon or eBay, or you're competing against the best in class. And finally, 52% say it's absolutely important for brand loyalty. And this makes perfect sense. If you consider it from that perspective, if you went into a restaurant that was really, really dirty and messy, and you had to wait for 30 minutes for someone to even come and take your order, you would absolutely walk straight out of it. You wouldn't run your business like that, so why do you run your website like that? And it's really, really important to think about this. A pushback I get a lot is, oh, I don't need to worry about my site. We actually don't sell online. It's really just more there for the brand, so it's fine. It's absolutely not fine. That's your brand, and that's what you're putting out to the world, and it's crucial that you get these elements right. An example that I use, especially when I'm talking to web developers, it's a very sensitive conversation. Telling someone that your website is really, really slow and it's really, really ugly, it's like telling someone their kids are really stupid and that they're terrible looking, because it's an awkward conversation, because that's a part of you, that's a part of your business. And honestly, people don't want to hear it. So if you're working for an agency, if you're working as part of a marketing conversation, you've probably had that before. Oh, I'm not going to deal with that. Everything looks fine. It's okay. It's not okay. And these are the type of conversations that need to be had. And the people that get ahead of the curve now are the people that are ultimately going to succeed. This is the tool that I showed you in our quiz, and it's called webpagetest.org. The very first tool that I showed you is the Test My Site tool, because that will do exactly that. It will show you the different elements of the site speed that you need to fix. For those of you who are a little bit more advanced, or for those of you who would like to share additional data maybe with your web developer, this is another great tool that you can use. Web page test goes into great detail about different elements. The beauty of this is it lets you test how your site runs on different devices, on different network speeds. So you can see in this example, we're running it from Ireland on mobile 3G on a Chrome browser. There's a huge amount of options here. So if you haven't run the Test My Site, go on to Web Page Test and run this. It's really, really important to understand not just how your site loads on Wi-Fi or how it's doing. It's crucial to understand what it loads like on different networks. The fact of the matter is, if we think back to our customer journey, people are out and about. They're commuting, they're walking around, they're looking for places for lunch. They're not on Wi-Fi. They're on 3G or much slower speeds. So you have to optimize for that. I wanted to show you a quick video of one of the outputs that you can get from Web Page Test. A great example that you can see here is comparing yourself to your competitors. What Web Page Test will allow you to do is run a video of this nature. Now, what I have on screen here, again, is two of our best in class, so eBay and Amazon. And what you actually see here is that this loads in 2 seconds. However, the important part of it was there in under 3. The information that was above the fold, or the information that the user needed to see, loaded absolutely instantly. Now, a really insightful way of doing this is to run the web page test, do it on a 3G network, maybe from one of your potential export markets, and then run it against a competitor. And putting up a visual like this, it's really, really interesting to see how it looks. And it gives you a lot of insight into what your users are experiencing, which is absolutely crucial. The next tool that I want to show you is something called Chrome Developer Tools. As I mentioned, if you're already satisfied with Test My Site, perfect. Then you can go with that and that's absolutely enough. However, if you want some additional detail, here's Chrome Developer Tools. This is a completely free tool that's just on your Chrome browser anytime you're using it. I'm going to explain the elements the second time that we run it through. But what we are doing here is taking a look at how your phone looks, how the site looks on different phones. So this can enable you to see what does it look like on an Nexus 5, what does it look like on an iPhone or an iPad. Then what we can do is actually change the site speed. So web page test will do the same thing, but if you're looking for something instant that you can follow along with, Chrome Developer Tools will show you that. This is where we can get those screenshots if you want to do the stretch test and if you want to see how your call to actions are looking. How you access the tool is either you right-click the website and just say inspect, or like was shown there, tools and developer tools. All of this is explained online for those of you who are really interested and maybe want to run the test. If you saw there, we clicked on the top right-hand corner to change it onto device mode, and up here is allowing us to change it to a Nexus or to an iPad or to an iPhone. What we just saw the last step there is changing the site speed. This is really, really great as well because I hear from people a lot, look, I'm not a web developer and I don't know how to pinpoint what's wrong with my website and I'm not really sure what are the different elements that are causing it. That is absolutely okay. I'm not a web developer either, but I can definitely have conversations around these elements. I hear things like, I'm not comfortable asking my web developer to do these things. I'm not really sure how much it's going to cost. I'm not really sure what's a big deal or what isn't. Looking at something like web page test or Chrome developer tools can give you instant insight, and it's completely free. In Chrome developer tools, as you saw it there was coming down in kind of a waterfall, it will show you what are the parts of the website that are slowing you down. Inevitably, the parts of the website that are going to be slowing you down are images. And this is something that you will have heard time and time again, but something that remains to be true. On the screen are the top 5 culprits for slow site speed. For those of you who aren't developers or aren't technical, you're usually like, please just put the slide away. I don't want to see anything like that. But it's really important, especially if you're marketing, if you're running your own business, that you're able to have the conversation, you're able to have the confidence to talk about topics like this. The one that I'm going to hone in on is the images, because this is the thing that is going to drag everything down. Ultimately, you're in a difficult position here because people want to have beautiful sites. They want to put up beautiful videos and they want to put up images that show their brand, particularly if you're an e-commerce site that shows a lot of images of their products. But ultimately, this is going to be the problem for the majority of the people in the room right now. The follow-up question to that is, well, what am I supposed to do about that? How can I actually work with the images? And the answer there is image compression. So what that essentially means is squashing down the image so that it doesn't really take up as much of the total page weight. Again, the follow-on question, how am I supposed to compress an image? Luckily, there are tons and tons of free tools available for you that will do it. The reason that I showed the Test My Site and the web page test tool is when you actually run those tests, if images comes up as one of the problems, what it will do is send you a report and it will say, here is a file containing sample compressed images. What that tool is doing for you is actually going through your site and it's figuring out, okay, which images are really, really heavy. It does the compression work for you. And then you can just send it on to your web developer or upload it yourself. There are tons of additional tools that you can use, really popular ones that I've heard from people that they are using. Optimizilla is one of them. TinyPNG is another one. And what they can do is you literally slot your image in, press compress, and you get it out. Another thing that I hear there is, I don't want to sacrifice the quality of my image. And that's absolutely perfect. Using those tools, you can adjust for quality and compression. So there's no need to worry there. The other 4, resources, JavaScript, custom fonts, and redirects. They are more technical with the exception of the fonts. And they definitely do require a lot of web development work, depending on your site. A huge question that we get time and time again is relating to JavaScript. And one of the things that if you are running those tests, it will probably come up. JavaScript is an issue on your site because it is for most of our sites. For those of you who don't know, JavaScript is essentially the code that lets us do things on our site. So it brings the functionality. So it allows the clickable things, it allows forms. So that means that while we absolutely need it, the less of it, the better, because it's a major, major drain on our page weight. Now, what if there was a solution that made everything quite simple and made my page load almost instantly? This brings us on to the next generation. Does anybody know what I'm going to talk about now? Should, because it's in the invite. Progressive web apps and accelerated mobile pages. Absolutely. So what is an AMP? Can you just raise your hand if you're using AMP technology at the moment? Okay, super. We have a couple of people in the room. It's very, very limited. Accelerated mobile pages. So this is what we're looking at when we're thinking about the next generation. What is the future of the mobile web? What are the different elements that are taking in the concepts of M-speed, functionality, seamless design? When I think about accelerated mobile pages and how to explain it, essentially it's just a way of recoding your website. So for those of you who don't want to get into the technical detail, we think of it as HTML is a language that we would use to write our websites, and this is a version of HTML on a diet. If you have a look at the left-hand side, you can see that this is a standard web page today, containing all of the text and all of the information. But on the right-hand side, using our AMP technology, using the way of recoding via AMP, we see the script is much smaller, and it contains a lot fewer elements. When we're looking on this, the median time is under 1 second. So 0.7 median load time, which is something that I can imagine everyone would love their site to load in. What this also means is it's 4 times faster and there's 10 times less data. For those of you who've never seen an AMP page, one that I tested that will trigger it in the room if you want to have a look at it is bestdeals.today juicers. So that's one of the clients we were working with. If you want to search for that now and have a look, if you scroll down, you'll see that it has the little lightning bolt symbol beside it, and it says AMP. So that's letting us know that that's what an AMP page is. A lot of people still say to me, oh, I'm not sure what that is, or I've never seen it. So if you're interested, that's how you can access it there. The next question that I inevitably get is, how long is this going to take me to make, or how much is required? 80% of development teams can build it in under a week. Now, ultimately, if you're in a position that you don't have any access to web development teams, this may not be something that's on the roadmap. However, if you are in the consideration phase of, I want to look at some next generation technology, I want to look at something different for some of my landing pages, this could absolutely be for you. All of the information is online, it's available, it's completely free. And we have a lot of tools out there that let you see, am I doing it right? Can I validate my page? Where are the errors in my code? We've had people that have come in and can build them in 2 to 3 days. Another element of it there is, do you want to maybe test it on a few of your landing pages? So maybe not all of them, maybe you only want to try it on the homepage, or you only want to test it on a segment. Perfect. In addition, make sure that you're A/B testing. So anything that you're implementing from that perspective, you have to ensure that you're testing it rigorously. And like you mentioned there, the last thing that we're going to talk about is progressive web apps. So the M-web versus the app debate has raged on for years and will continue to rage on. When we talk about the difference between an M site or an app, there's a lot of things that you need to consider. An M site is really, really important for discoverability. That's how people will find your brand. And that's where a lot of the e-commerce transactions take place. Apps are really crucially important for lifetime value and re-engaging your customer and making sure that you can get continuous value. The progressive web app, or some of you might know it as formerly the native web app, it's taking the best elements of an app and of an M-web and basically combining them. It uses a technology called Service Worker, and that's how it operates. Major features of a progressive web app are that they're available online. You can add it to the home screen and you can get push notifications. So there are a lot of the features that we would really, really want to have on our M site without going into the full development costs of actually launching a full app. So those type of features are the things that people ask for the most. I want to be able to send push notifications. I want people to be able to continue browsing even if they go offline and even if they're not on the M-web. And that is what this technology allows you to do. If people are really interested in this, or if you think that your business is potentially a suitable candidate, I'm more than happy to have a discussion afterwards. We're always looking for people that are interested and that are liking to take things to the next generation. This is an example of someone who used it. A lot of people who are using it. Twitter most recently launched a full progressive web app. What we see is a 76% lift in conversions and a 30% lift in active rates. So if you're maybe an app-focused business, but you're not finding that you're getting enough discoverability online, potentially this is something that you might want to consider. To bring us back to the mobile revolution and to close off everything, to give you that framework, like I said, that the mobile revolution is alive and well, I just want to recap on the different elements of our framework. So starting at the very beginning, making sure that you're identifying your audience. And that is something that every single person can walk out of the room and do, whether it be just sitting down with the team and making sure that your target market is absolutely in focus, or backing it up with additional data from Consumer Barometer, from eMarketer, from Google Analytics, like I've showed you before. It constantly shocks me how many times I've gone into a room and asked a business who your target market is, and there's so many different opinions. One group says this, another says that, and oftentimes the people that are designing your website or designing your assets do not have the target market in mind that you're considering. So identifying your audience is absolutely crucial at the very beginning. Map out your journey. It sounds like a basic exercise, but it's so important. What are they doing? Where are they? How can I reach them? And what can I do that's thinking creatively, that's thinking outside of the box? And the second element that we really touched on today, which is optimizing your assets. How is my site? Am I loading in a sufficient amount of time? How am I looking when it comes to conversion path? How do I score if I rate myself against the 25 principles? Am I using the little tricks and techniques? What do my call to actions look like? There's a lot, and there's a lot to take in, and I appreciate that. But there's a lot of work to be done, so this is absolutely crucial. To continue around the mobile revolution, we need to measure every moment that matters. There's a lot of material out there, and the reason we keep saying it over and over and over again is that it's something that marketers, business owners, everyone feels challenged by. The measurement question. How do I show the full value of mobile? How do I ensure that everything is being measured in the correct way? So you have to prioritize this as something that's important, not just for mobile, but also for your entire marketing campaign. And once we have those elements in place, then we need to focus on the investment. Then we need to start driving traffic to our websites and ensuring that we're bidding in the correct manner. So that is this version of the mobile revolution. To bring you back to what I said at the very, very beginning about the definition of the mobile revolution, what we're talking about is a far-reaching and dramatic change. The ones who are going to gain that competitive insight, the ones who will take this to the next level, are the people who are willing to stand up to that change. And to finish with someone who can say it a lot better than I can say it myself, it is not the strongest of species that survives, nor is it the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. Thank you. Great, so I'm aware that a lot of people need to go back to work. But if anyone has any questions on the topic that we covered today, I'd be more than happy to take them. We don't have any questions? Is everyone totally confident on it? Okay, I have a first brave cell. Would you mind, sorry, just to throw that back? Thanks.
Good morning. That was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much. The question I wanted to ask is, with the progressive
Web apps?
progressive web apps, the big difference between them and mobile apps, if I understand it correctly, is I can't understand how progressive web apps have the ability to operate offline with the amount of content that will rest in a mobile app. So this is a big implication for tourists and for travelers and all that sort of thing. So how does it actually, can it actually do that?
Yeah, so it does, and that's kind of the main selling point of it. And from what you've said, that's why most people want to use it as well. So I loosely mentioned it. We can definitely have a conversation about it afterwards and go into the technical depth of it. But it's using this really specific technology known as Service Worker. And that basically allows it to work offline. As you've said, there's a massive amount of technical work that does need to go into that. And in terms of AMP, which is basically a way of recoding it, this is the software that needs to be coded into the side or the app. So there's a huge amount of work that goes into it to allow that to happen. But definitely I can give you more technical details if you are in the tourism industry and want to look at that.
Yeah, if I just have another question, if I may, then most apps will operate off a content management system to store and keep the data in the back end. So again, what would the progressive web apps do? How do they, is it a content management system?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's basically a version of that, but it's a hyper advanced one known as Service Worker.
Thanks.
Brilliant, thanks so much. Do you have a question over there? Sorry, I'm not able to. I know you go to this struggle week on week of seeing people throw that ball around, but I can't think of a better way.
So my question is more around, I suppose, AMP specifically. And I suppose one of the negative things that is commonly comes up around AMP is, I suppose, obviously the URL structure of it. And I suppose, especially in the last couple of weeks with Apple's move to actually start stripping out AMP and reverting back to the original URLs. Where's Google going with it? What's going to happen with that, I suppose? Because that is one of the things that comes up time and time again.
We get that a lot, and like the common objections, what I hear would be around that, the URL structure, or the fact that we are caching it ourselves on the CDN, or potentially around the analytics of it, which is something that we're working on. Ultimately, this is the technology that we are going to move forward with and keep going with, and like you said, always trying to strengthen relationships with partners to ensure that they are supporting it. And we have a lot of people who are on board with AMP. I completely appreciate what you're saying. But maybe if you don't want to go full AMP, and the whole idea of AMP is that it's basically just using really advanced coding techniques of doing it. So you can always use elements of AMP, even if you don't want to entirely rejig the structure and make use of the cache. So our advice is, if it is suitable for your business, then absolutely keep going with it. And at all times, we're trying to strengthen our relationships and try and get more platforms and partners on board.
Very good.
Thanks. This one over there.
Hi, my question's about I'm a student and I have to work on a very short budget, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a few people here beforehand who have to work on a very limited budget.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work through blogs, such like that, as many probably other people here are. But when it comes to having to work with free websites like WordPress and stuff like that, that aren't optimizing in ways that you suggested, how would you suggest working around those with such a limited budget?
Yeah. So we get that question all the time, especially because a lot of people are using those type of systems like WordPress or working off Wix or Weebly. So just one thing is that I know it's probably a little bit advanced from the limited budget, but WordPress is now on board with the plugin that supports AMP, and we're constantly working with companies like that to try and include that. What I would say is always going back to, even if you are limited by something like WordPress or a platform that you're having to code everything through, there's always the little tweaks that you can make, even if that's happening. So for example, the way I showed originally, the images, that's always something that you can have a look at and something that you can re-upload via compression. Another one is the fonts, and you have control there over how many fonts you're using. So like I said there, absolute maximum that we want is 5, and under all circumstances, really trying not to have any of the custom fonts. Something that might be of interest to you and that I can give to you afterwards is, I hear that a lot. Basically, there's different elements of web development here. How long is this going to take and how much is it going to cost me? So how am I supposed to prioritize which ones I can do? And we basically have a guide in each of the elements that I've talked about, how they work with things like WordPress, how long you can expect it to take to implement it, and is the cost low or high in relation to the impact? So I can definitely share that guide with you if it's something that you'd like to see. I know a lot of people are in a very similar situation to yourself. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, then everyone can enjoy the rest of their Friday. But Tom has to come up here and get his beautiful prize. So have a lovely weekend, everyone, and thank you so much for attending.